Hey, welcome back to another episode of It's a Football Thing. As always, I'm your host, RJ. I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts and champion mates, Scott Takuna, Rob the Red Devil. How are we this evening, lads? Rob, I'll go to you first, my man.
I'm good, mate. Really looking forward to it tonight, doing all the grades. Obviously, we've got new Kings of Europe, some transfer talk, plenty to talk about, and I'm keen as to get into it.
Good man. And Scott?
Mate, doing well. You know, this is a show I've been looking forward to for a long time. We've got a lot to unpack, and I can't wait to really look in depth at some of the club seasons that we'll be doing tonight because I think it'll be great fun.
For sure. The season might have ended and there's no longer any main competitive fixtures, but I think we're going to have some competitive conversations. Like Rob said, Kings of Europe, Real Madrid 14 times. Some drama both on and unfortunately off the pitch during that clutch, which we will undoubtedly touch on. And like Scott said, really going through a pen and fine-tooth comb with some of these Premier League clubs just to unpack the season that was. And of course, the transfer talk is heating right up, and you can bet your bottom dollar we're going to go through that. Scott, who have we got in the chat so far?
Yeah, just some really quick hellos. We've got Marty here, Aussie Spur TV. Keep an eye out. Follow him on Twitter. I know that Marty will be launching some YouTube stuff very soon, so make sure you keep an eye on that. We got Tom here from the United Pubcast. Evening, Tom. Declared is in the house. My man, Declared, good to see you. And we got Daniel here. Go Real Madrid, he says. If you are new to the channel, just smack a like on the video straight away, kick it off, and subscribe if you haven't already. We're still on that road to 600, but we're getting there. And Borche, yeah, the quad, he says. Boys, we're also tonight going to talk, and we'll save this for when we get to the segment giving Liverpool their report card. We're going to talk a little bit about their celebrations. And the question in the chat, the poll is Liverpool's parade a football thing? Some interesting results at this point, but we'll talk about that a bit later because that was quite contentious. But let's get into it. The champions of Europe are Real Madrid, not Liverpool. It was a gritty performance. It was, as I said to you boys in our little group chat, to me it was attack versus tactics. Attack's great when it works, but there was a brick wall in goals that was not going to be beaten in Courtois. An absolute cracker of a match. I think Liverpool will be kicking themselves, to be honest, that they couldn't take advantage of one of their chances. But in the end, Ancelotti is a tactical genius, and he did what he did. Like, he set his team up perfectly. So massive congratulations to them. Rob, I know you would have been stoked, mate, because you were not keen on Liverpool winning this. How happy were you, champion?
Mate, I was super happy, mate. I pulled out the old Real Madrid kit from 7-a-side back in 2014. It was a bit tight, but I was definitely cheering on Madrid in bed. Look, to be honest, I actually think it was actually a really good Champions League final as a neutral to watch. And that's not saying because Real Madrid got the result in the end. I actually did enjoy the match. There's been a couple of those games, a couple of years ago when I was at Spurs-Liverpool game. I thought one of the worst Champions League finals I've seen.
Awful.
This one here, like I said, tactics versus attack. Again, someone like Courtois, man of the match performance with his saves. I think the most saves ever in the Champions League final with 9. And yeah, look, Liverpool, you can't say they didn't go out and try and win the game, mate, because they were definitely in all-out attack. But I think definitely second half, Real Madrid really started to take control. The Modric, Casemiro, Toni Kroos really warmed up in that second half, and just how cool, calm, and collected they were, man. They slowly started to, get balls in behind, over the top. They started getting a few shots here and there. But look, Mr. Vinny Jr. obviously got the goal. Obviously, we had early on in the game another big call, the VAR decision, which was very, very contentious. For me, I just think there's a lot of gray area with the rule. I thought that was a very, very big call in such a, like we talk about this all year, how VAR, this is a Champions League final. This is a big thing between winning and losing. I'm glad this decision didn't come into it and like Real Madrid ended up winning, because it would have been really interesting if Liverpool did end up winning after a call like that. In my opinion, the goal should have stood, and it had nothing to do with the whole offside point, because I didn't see that. The point for me is that it's come off a Liverpool player who has made an attempt at the ball. He's trying to defend it, so that means he's deliberately trying to have a touch. There's been a deflection, which should be play on for me. Benzema scores, And for me, it should have been the goal that stood. So, yeah, look, I'm glad Real Madrid won at the end of the day. And I thought it was a really good game.
RJ, give us some general thoughts on the match and, of course, that contentious decision.
Yeah, no, I agree wholeheartedly with Rob, to be honest. Of course, I'm biased against Liverpool. Liverpool played phenomenal at the start to try to really break down Real Madrid. But Real Madrid they have shown all tournament, if you don't knock them out when you can, they can come back and bite you. So that call, agreed. At first, I thought, yeah, he's offside. It was just an unlucky deflection. But the challenge deliberately played at the ball. It then deflected again off a second defender. It's like, in what situation would you make a tackle and not deliberately play for the ball? Like, the rule itself is obviously the problem here, but I'm just fortunate enough that they didn't lose the game because of that. And then the goal itself was just really poor switching off from Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I thought played a pretty decent game up until that point. You gents know that was the matchup I was looking forward to. But Liverpool, despite their waves of attack, they just didn't look like a team that was operating cohesively, and they just didn't look likely to break down Real Madrid despite a couple of world-class saves. So 9 saves, the record shows, but 2 or 3 really stood out. The one against Mane in the first half, where he tipped it onto the post. The one against Salah when he deflected it wide. And the one where I think even he came across his goal to stop Salah coming in at the end. So, yeah, unbelievable from the ex-Chelsea goalkeeper, and he does deserve some respect, as he not so subtly put it after the game towards the English media. But, yeah, it was a really good game, real strategic type of affair. Liverpool, predictable as usual in terms of dominate, but didn't kill them. And Real Madrid, Don Carlo, number 14 Real Madrid, I'm very happy for them because Benzema, I think, has been the best player of the year, and hopefully this cements his Ballon d'Or status.
I think that tips the scales now in his favour. You know, I'd kind of been an advocate for Mo Salah, but I think that has to be rewarded, that UCL run, and Benzema has been a massive part of that. I do wonder with Liverpool, boys, because, all right, let's just leave the bias at the door for a moment. I get you both seriously hate Liverpool and you're happy they lost. But I looked at them and they didn't look at the races. They actually looked really fatigued. I wonder if this is the result of mounting a serious quad challenge. Like, they could not play a game, at anything less than 110% for the last couple of months because they have been competing on all fronts. I wonder if that caught up with them in this match. Like, banter aside, okay, there's a reason no one like that quad hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think fatigue caught up with them in the end?
Look, it's yes and no. Look, you have to look for them to play every game this season. You have to applaud that, mate, because that just seems you're right at the top of your game. And look, and again, this is not my United hat, but that's why I think people should appreciate, for instance, the treble as well, because this is back in 99 when United done this. Like, it's not an easy feat to do. And we've seen in the last couple of seasons, including this one, obviously, with Liverpool on for the quad. City's been on for the quad, I feel like, the last couple of seasons. But, they get right to the pointy end and then they start to drop off or just don't get it over the line. So it is a very hard thing to do. But, yeah, I do have to say, obviously, more running in the legs, more game time is obviously going to come into effect somehow. And especially, Real Madrid, for instance, had 2 weeks of being sitting on ice, kind of waiting for this final compared to a Liverpool. So they obviously would have been a little bit more fresher. But, sometimes people say as well, the more you play, the more you're in. Sometimes a break isn't good enough either. So it's hard, mate.
Interesting. RJ, I want to come to you on this. You would have seen it, unless you were living under a rock. The event was marred by crowd troubles. There were the issues with the delayed kickoff because fans couldn't get into the stadium. There was violence galore. You had a bunch of Liverpool fans afterwards saying that there were almost organised muggings after the game, like people robbing them, this and that. There were people jumping the fence. I think there were stuff-ups on all sides. So I want to put that on the table first. UEFA have stuffed this up. Some Liverpool fans have really stuffed this up. And a portion of the Real Madrid / Spanish fan base over there has really stuffed this up. So no one's innocent for me, because Liverpool's fans can cause mischief. Any fans do on these days. The locals have taken advantage of the chaos, and UEFA just haven't done a good enough job for me. Just a few words on what we saw before and after the match, RJ.
Yeah, it was quite unprecedented, wasn't it? Well, unprecedented in a sense on this competition and on the scale it was, because you would have thought they had the Euro final as a bit of a cover to prepare for such type of off-field type related incidents. But like you said, Scott, blame needs to be apportioned to all the parties involved. UEFA, as the chief organizer of the event, had months and months and months to plan for the showpiece event, and you would think they would have done some proper planning and invested accordingly the money in enough security and have all of these countermeasures to make sure that they don't allow themselves to be overrun, because they knew this was the potential. When you're planning a major event, one of the headline risks is, guess what? You might have an unruly breakout of fans trying to get in illegally. So you would have thought, spend more money, make sure you've got enough security, and really nip this in the butt if it starts to get out of control. They failed to do that. Like you said, that doesn't excuse what those illegal supporters tried to do in the first place, but they really should have put this in the butt. Yep. I did see some disturbing footage where we saw some tear gas being used and some overzealous type of police enforcement. I do understand, trying to put my devil's advocate hat on, the whole idea of they had 5 gates open, they shut 4 of them off to funnel them through the one. It's not fair for the innocent Joe Blow that turned up with his ticket or her ticket and just wanted to watch their team play a Champions League final. But equally, if you're responsible for the stadium and you don't take those measures to really check things properly because it's been overrun, could you imagine if they just were lackadaisical, someone's jumped the fence, had something in their backpack, and something really bad happened? All of a sudden, the narrative would be, why didn't you take your time and really vet these people properly before you just let anybody in? So, you know what I mean? It's a no-win outcome. Yep. UEFA stuffed up totally. Those fans, the thugs that got in, totally stuffed up. But it also doesn't help, I think, behind the scenes, having every media pundit come in and talk about, it wasn't the fans' fault, or UEFA, they were over the top, all of these things, or the French police and all these stories. Realistically, this is just a major incident. UEFA needs to be held accountable for it. But equally, both Real Madrid and Liverpool, any sort of fans that are responsible for trying to use illegal tickets or violence to get into the stadium, the club should be the ones that have to pay a fine or two, because it's just not good enough. It ruined an event, in my opinion.
Well said. Well said. Boys, we are going to leave the Champions League in the past now until next season. Of course, it sounds funny saying that. We are going to get into some of the report cards. Now, let's quickly just set the scene before we do this. We are looking at the club's whole season. So we're going to look at how much they spent, we'll talk a little bit about their expectations before the season. We'll talk about the managers. We'll talk about where they finished in all competitions, because I think in giving them a grade, we've got to consider the full picture and what they've done across multiple fronts. Then we're going to try and agree on a grade, an A, B, C, D, or an EF. So as a teacher, this is something I enjoy doing. It is report time. So let's kick off the report cards with, of course, the top student in the class, in my opinion, Manchester City. They finished in first, boys, 29 wins, 6 draws, only 3 losses, spent £87 million. Pep Guardiola, of course, was and is the gaffer. I put Kevin De Bruyne as the key man, but could have been multiple people there. He did show up late in the season. Semi-final of the FA Cup, round of 16 in the Carabao Cup. I might have made a mistake on one of those. And semi-finalists in the UCL. Let's talk City, RJ. What do you think about this team?
Well, as you know, both of you know, I judge winning the Premier League very highly, given the consistency in being able to win this super, super tough league. And they did it the hard way. I thought they didn't start off brilliantly, but as they tend to do, they're a team that, as long as they keep hanging around and keeping themselves in the mix, they tend to come good sooner rather than later. And to their credit, once they got a foothold of top spot, they demonstrated relentless consistency. They weren't quite going for the quad, so the same pressures weren't there, but they were oh so close in the Champions League. FA Cup, again, I think they really then prioritised more on the Premier League front in this setting. But you know what? It's strange. The expectations were you're going to compete on all fronts. You've got the best squad, not just the best team, best squad, best manager, arguably, and you've got the funds and means to really compete genuinely. So the expectation is you're going to be in and around the mix. So winning the Premier League, fantastic achievement. Hats off to them. But I'm going to use the word choke in the Champions League because they were in a commanding position, should have progressed against the eventual winners. The Carabao Cup, take it with a grain of salt because that's the least preferred cup anybody wants to win domestically, let's be honest. FA Cup semi-final, again, losing to a juggernaut, but should have done better. I see Marty's got the A rating here, but I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go a B+ for me, just because of what's happening across the other competitions. What do you boys think?
Robbie, the A's have rolled in the chat. We've got an A from Davide, A- from Declared, A from Marty. What do you reckon? I mean, winning the Premier League, I know RJ said B+, and I can understand his thinking behind that. But the Premier League is the hardest domestic league in the world to win for me. And they won it. And for me, something that I think was really impressive, Rob, is how they had a high-pressure challenger from Liverpool, but they kept their heads. Even in that last match, they were very professional. Do you think maybe RJ's been a bit harsh on City, or are you okay with a B+?
No, I actually completely agree with RJ. I thought I was going to be the one that was going to be differential with a B+, just over a B+. I was even thinking a B- for some of the reasons RJ said. In City have nearly the best of the best in every department, and tongue in cheek, at the start of the season, my crazy prediction was City are not going to win a trophy this year. City were 10 minutes away from not getting anything this year, and when you have everything in all the bullets in the chamber, you have to be delivering. And as much as they're a world-class team and one of the best teams in the world, again, in 10 minutes, if they didn't win that game and score those 3 goals in the last 10 minutes, and they didn't win the Premier League this season, like I said, they choked that. They would have nearly choked that. 14 points they were at one stage. They choked in the UCL final, like I just said, in the commanding position. Semi-final, the cup competitions, it's sometimes just unlucky. But yeah, I reckon they saved their season for me on a B+ on the last 15 minutes. Again, a great team, but I can't give an A for that, especially with, like I said, big dollars, best manager. And like I said, the Premier League for them, they've done 4 out of the last 5 Premier Leagues, bro. So it's kind of nearly just a standard bench for them. So yeah, B+ I'll go for them.
Boys, if City are a B, I'm terrified for what you're... Actually, no, I'm not terrified. I can't wait to see what you're going to give some of your teams. For me and where I stand, Manchester City really only signed Grealish. And he was actually, I wouldn't say a flop signing, but an ineffective signing for large parts. To win the Premier League, stave off that challenge from Liverpool, and teams do sometimes collapse under pressure. They didn't. They held their own. Even in that last game, they could have easily crumbled, but didn't. The UCL, for me, is a blemish on the season. But when you look at it, they're still in the top 4 of Europe, and that's an achievement. That Real Madrid team were just performing in a different sphere. So for me, I'm going to go off an A- for City. I still think they've done enough, and they're a victim of our high expectations of them here. I just want to look at Tom's comment. He said, season is an A, but the longer they go without the UCL, the owners will start to look at Pep's time being not as special as it seems. He's there to win the UCL now, and he's not doing it. So I think next season, if it's another season, just a sole cup, it will probably look very, very different. Make sure you keep your report grades coming in the chat because we love to see them. It sometimes helps drive the conversation here too. We are moving on to someone who I think is going to be very hotly contested, Liverpool. Second position, we saw they unfortunately for them couldn't get over the line against City. They spent 87 million. They made some decent signings. Jurgen Klopp is the gaffer. Mo Salah was the key man for me. His early season form really carried them. They won the FA Cup. They won the Carabao Cup. They were runners-up in the UCL and runners-up in the league. We're going to talk about the parades after our grades, so save that for now. Robbie, you love Liverpool, so give me your thoughts.
It's hard for me. Like I've got two kind of like I wish there was a kind of in between one because I'm kind of thinking in between a B plus and an A. So that's where I'm kind of in that section. I don't know which one. If A is too high or B plus is not enough, but I do think that Liverpool did have a great season. I like to compare. They squeezed in after not the best season last year. They massively closed the gap, and obviously, like I said, went down to the last 15 minutes in the Premier League, and wheeling in a team like City in the Premier League that's something special in itself. Again, Champions League, they didn't have the hardest run all the way to the final, and they lost it. Both other cup competitions that they did win was on penalties, didn't score a goal for the best attack in the world, apparently. So look, they've pretty much, they're on for the quarter until the last week of the season, which is, again, you have to respect that, man. They are one of the best, attacking team. They play beautiful football. For a team as well, I have to say that have played 60 games this season, I feel like they're like Energizer bunnies, mate. Because like I said, even though they might have tired a bit in that last game, they've been heavy metal football probably 95% of the time, man. And that's for a fitness level, I think that, and they haven't got the biggest squad ever either. So for me, I think I will go with an A because I think that's a pretty incredible season. And if that was United, I can't be biased. I'd be giving them an A for that as well.
Arj, I'm going to let you have the last word, but I'm going to quickly share my thoughts on Liverpool. The fact that we had a team this close to the quad, like Robbie said, they were 10 minutes away from the treble. For a team to be that close to the quad in modern football, I actually think it is harder now than it was back then because I think the gap's closed a lot now. All of the teams in the Premier League are maximising their revenue. They're all making good signings. So for them to still be in a quad conversation late on is huge for me, huge. And it's not like they bowed out of any competition in the third or fourth round. They pushed it to the wire for everything. You could argue they were 10 minutes away in the league. You could argue that they were probably the more positive and threatening team in the Champions League. But unfortunately, you've got to look at it for what it is. It's the two least important of their four objectives. But I still think Liverpool, for me, deserve an A-. I'm going to give them exactly what I gave City because City let themselves down in other areas and Liverpool did the same. For me, it's an A- for Liverpool. RJ?
Yeah, I was just reading the comments in the chat actually, and Declared asked, how does Liverpool get an A and City a B plus when Liverpool walked away with less? But I think there's a conversation about the expectations, and it's also a comment for Tom as well, because I saw he gave Man City an A, but B- because they failed on their two main targets. Well, I'd argue Man City failed on their main target, which was the Champions League, and they actually regressed from last season. So getting an A would be contradictory, in my opinion, despite winning the Premier League, which seems to be a given for them. Liverpool, the way I'm looking at the ratings, and maybe this is why I'm maybe getting it a little bit mixed up, I'm comparing it to how they went last year. I know that might not be the right methodology, but Liverpool increased their points in the Premier League by, I don't know, was it like 33 odd points or 23 odd points? It's a major improvement in the Premier League. And like you said, 10 minutes away from a treble, they were a more positively attacking-minded team in the Champions League. And that's not a symbol of anything. That's just the way they play football. But they were oh so close, yet oh so far. They walked away with 2 domestic cups via penalty shootouts, of course, without scoring a goal. But I think overall, strangely, I'm with Rob. I think that they had a better season overall than Manchester City, and I'd be inclined to give them an A-, to be honest, because I just think so competitive, deep in every tournament, won a couple of domestic trophies, and were a bit unfortunate in the Premier League and a little bit more so in the UCL. But yeah, A- for me, boys.
Boys, in the chat, I've asked the question, is Liverpool's parade a football thing? 36% say yes, 64% say no. Now, they've copped a lot of criticism for this parade. The way I see it, I'm sure you'll be shocked that I'm going to defend them again. They won 2 cups. I can't remember the last time my team, well, I can, but I can't remember a recent time when my team's won 2 cups and 2 domestic cups. And I think, as we've all just reflected on, the season for them there's still been plenty of positives. I think the world needs more celebration. I have no issue with them celebrating, no issue with them having their parade. The only thing that I probably would question is the timing. I would say to them, leave it another week, maybe. Let the disappointment of losing the Champions League kind of dissolve a little bit, then have your party. But it was still a great turnout. They
Not
look
just
like
that,
they
but
enjoyed themselves.
I didn't
Good on
look
them.
as a Juve fan as well. I didn't like how it was on the same day as the anniversary of the Hazel disaster. I think that was a bit disrespectful. Like I said, another 1 or 2 days. Like I said, to do it the day after the Champions League final, I think is weird in itself. I know they have to book probably the city out or whatever the go is, but I don't know, man. Like I just think out of the respect thing, they could have waited another day or 2 or a week, like you said. For me, I'm really big with respect with, disasters and stuff like that, paying respects and stuff. So, I know a lot of Juve fans are pretty disappointed at itself. But for me, I thought it was a bit over the top anyway. I understand they won 2 cups, but they literally did celebrate it like they just won the Champions League, man. So, for me, over the top.
RJ?
Yeah, to me, it's the timing. I'd want to celebrate if we won a couple of domestic cups too, but it almost feels like not a marketing ploy to soften the blow of missing out in the Premier League, missing out in the Champions League, and almost felt like it's their way of trying to cover up and be a little bit more positive. And you know me, I'm all for positivity. But yeah, David is right to an extent too. You want to celebrate with your club. You want to try to cover the cracks in what was a very heartbreaking way to close out the season. But I'm with you, Scott. The timing, and you too, Rob. Just wait a few days, read the room a little bit better. But yeah, that's just my view on it.
Right, let's move on, boys. Plenty of great chat in there tonight. I'm looking forward to seeing people's grades for this next team because some people have set a bit of a precedent now. So I want to see how that carries on because the next team we're looking at are RJ's beloved Chelsea, who finished in 3rd place. 21 wins, 11 draws and 6 losses. Spent £118 million. We know where most of that went. Manager, Mr. Thomas Tuchel. Mason Mount, I put as the key man. But again, you probably could have put a fair few guys there.
Doesn't look like Mason Mount on the picture, Scott.
Well, no one said it needed to be the key man in the picture. I like Kante. Got a soft spot for
Kenny
him.
or Kante?
FA Cup, you made the final, but you were runners-up. Carabao Cup, same story, runners-up. UCL, you were knocked down in the quarterfinals. You did win the Club World Cup, but, mate, if you're talking about Mickey Mouse Cups, that's probably...
And Super Cup too, Scott. We did the double too, mate. So
yeah, well, let's start reflecting, mate. I think you need to start this, RJ. It's your club.
Sanctioned, no owners. That's a triple plus, mate. Now, in all seriousness, we had some expectations following winning the Champions League to do a bit better from a title race point of view. That obviously, after the Chilwell, Reece James injuries, the lack of depth was really starting to show for us, and the whole COVID interruption. I think we really dropped off a lot. December, January, really couldn't grab our thoughts and regather the momentum how we started the season with, which was unfortunate. The off-field stuff, people say, oh, that can happen, whatever, but it hasn't happened to any other top club where we've had a club being sanctioned and they can't actually spend money. So that is unusual. Thomas Tuchel, I applaud him a lot because not only did he have to be a football manager, but he also had to be a UN politician at the same time. So I kind of give him a lot of respect and credit for having the courage and the nous to be able to handle all of those conflicting priorities. But as a footballing institution, 3rd place, it wasn't as easy as I would have liked it to be in the end. We kind of dropped off in the last month or so. 2 domestic cup shootout losses. It's a flip of a coin. The narrative would be very different had we converted some of those chances, but we didn't. We lost, and that's how it goes. And the quarterfinal, again, overturned a 3-1 deficit in the Bernabeu and were undone by an extra time Corinne Reaper goal. So, yeah, below expectations. The off-field context, very important to recognise. I would give us a B, flat B in the end because of all of those factors.
Robbie, what are your thoughts on Chelsea?
Scott, do you mind going next? Because I want to see what you say. I just want to see if I'm being I don't want to be too negative or too positive. I want to see what you got to say, honestly.
I'm going to push RJ down there at the moment, 3rd place in the line like Chelsea. For me, we have talked about expectations of the team. Now, Chelsea came into this season as the champions of Europe. They reminded us many, many, many times. Everyone knew they were the champions of Europe. The way they capitulated in that first leg of the quarterfinal, whilst they were better in the second leg, ultimately not good enough. 2 cup finals bottled. I know it's penalty shootouts, but you let it get to a penalty shootout, and then both penalty shootouts you didn't win. The sanctions, well, this is what happens when a Russian oligarch owns your club, so that's part of it. I think I'm going in hard on Chelsea because I had high expectations. You would know I tipped them in our start of the season show.
As did I. Yep.
I think I tipped them as winners of the league.
We both did. Yep.
So I don't think anyone can come out saying this is just me picking on Chelsea because, again, I tipped them to win the league. The way they dropped off towards the end of the season, I was really disappointed in Chelsea. I'm going to go B- for them. And it's just because, again, FA Cup finals and Chelsea haven't been well in recent years. To lose 2 cup finals and capitulate against Madrid, I was disappointed in them. I'm a B-.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, look, again, we've talked about expectations, as you said. I also tipped Chelsea. I thought hot off the Champions League win last year, and with $100 million buy of Lukaku, the big striker that's where they were missing, goals the year before. They brought him in, and I really thought, okay, that's the missing piece of their puzzle. I really think they're going to give City, Liverpool a real run for their money. And to be honest, they started the season quite well. He was pretty hot at the start, Lukaku, before he dropped off. Obviously, people like your Reece Jameses, one of the informed players before he obviously copped his Chilwell. Chelsea did play their fair share of games as well because you do have to include, like I said, they had the Club World Cup, in the meantime.
It's over 60 games, just under Liverpool.
They played a lot as well. Again, I'm going to be hard as well. On the path, like you said, to make 2 cup finals again, I think that's great. They're always there. Chelsea, they're about it. But again, they didn't also score as Liverpool did in both finals, and a flip of a coin in penalties. So I think again, that's just luck for me. I will go with RJ. I'm going to go for a B, only because I had really high expectations. Again, I thought they would have even gone that little bit closer in the Champions League final. In the Champions League, sorry, not Champions League final. Considering where they were last year, I just thought add that team and what they'd done with Lukaku in there, who I really thought was going to thrive. I had high expectations, so flat B for me for Chelsea.
Right, as much as it pains RJ, let's move on to Marty's boys, Tottenham Hotspur. Finished the season in 4th, pipped Arsenal to that Champions League place. Spent £95 million. Started with Nuno, then we've jumped over to Antonio Conte. I don't think you could say anyone else besides Son was the key man. He was just Mr. Consistent for them. They were eliminated in the 5th round of the FA Cup, made the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, and didn't get out of the group in the Conference League. Spurs, I might kick off. Whilst making 4th is a really big achievement, and the way they overturned their beginning of the season was a massive achievement. The Conference League for me was disappointing. You saw that a manager like Mourinho took it very seriously. I think to go out in the groups was poor form. 5th round of the FA Cup, not too bad.
Scott,
But
they
I
went out, I
think,
think, because of COVID or something, wasn't it, as well?
mate, every club in the world dealt with COVID. No one wanted to play the violin for us in the first 3 rounds of the season. So I'm not going to play it for Spurs of all, but my grade's actually not as harsh as Chelsea's. I would say for Spurs, considering what happened and the job that Conte did in the second half, I would actually say for them, it's a B plus on their season. Robbie, what do you think?
Yeah, B plus for me, and same thing. I think where they started, to say that they've done the double over City, they were very roller coaster throughout the season. They didn't do great in all cup competitions, but again, I'll take it from where they were last year, 8th, didn't have a great season. Started with Nuno, he lost his job. Conte came in, and once the wheels were in motion with Conte, I really think to get 4th and wheel that in nearly to the wire, I think that was a massive accomplishment. Again, I think bringing the players they brought in, especially when Conte came, again, Kulusevski for me, sign of the season. And then once they started to get their wheels in motion, everything started to click. B plus for me. I think A is a little bit over the top just because they didn't have great cup runs. So B plus, but I think Antonio Conte done a great job, and I think low key, I think this team's going to be a threat next season.
RJ, you can have the final word on our London neighbours.
Yeah, sure. I think started off very poor. Expectations weren't very high, despite them being a team that's traditionally challenged for top 4, top 6 at the best. They did very, very well since Conte came in with those signings. Bentancur as well, on top of Kulusevski, both played brilliantly. But given their cup competitions, the fact that Conte has demonstrated previously, when you just keep your eyes on the Premier League prize, he's very good domestically, and it wasn't working, with all due respect, Burnley. This is a good team, ultimately. I'd be inclined to give them a B plus. I think they did very, very well, but as a whole of season assessment, because they didn't start off this way, and again, Conference League, nobody really cares about that unless you're an aspiring team, you want to call it that. FA Cup, bit disappointing the way they got knocked out. The Carabao Cup, again, that could have went either way, but they didn't. And the reality is they probably really benefited from them on their number 1 target, which was 4th spot, and credit to them. So, better than Chelsea because their expectations were totally lower and they didn't have that off-field chestnut issue to deal with, but they've ultimately achieved very well, and I think they deserve a B+.
Fair shout. I just think for them, the next step is now they have to win something. For them, they have to win something.
They won the best comeback game, Scott, for that 2-1 win you might have seen, which was brilliant, by the way. Marty will tell you.
I can't believe they're even making those kind of awards. Seriously,
you know what? Let's just move on. Let's get this over and done with. I'm going to pop myself back in the middle here. Arsenal Football Club. Where the hell do you start with Arsenal Football Club? Finished in 5th position with 22 wins, 3 draws, 13 losses. Spent £142 million under Mikel Arteta. For me, the key man's Bukayo Saka. He was just overworked towards the end. FA Cup, we were knocked out by Forest in the 3rd round. Carabao Cup, we made the semi-final. And we didn't have any European competitions. So disappointing by Arsenal. The way they capitulated at the end of the season left a really bitter taste on the season. Now, I wouldn't come out and say it was our worst season. It was a complete failure because there has been progress from last season, but just not enough for me, quite frankly. We had 4th in our hands. We had 4th. We buckled it. Those losses to Palace, I always forget them. Palace, Everton, who else did we lose to in that run? Teams that we should have beaten. Those losses were the ones that really cost us. Happy that we finished above some smaller clubs like United, who have loved bantering us the whole way, but finished below us. Can't wait to get to them. But overall, it was a poor season for me. With 1 game a week, no Europe, all our fans were hyping that up all year, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. The transfer business was garbage. I was just not happy. I'm not going to say a D because they have still improved, but I'm certainly going a C minus for me. It wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough. RJ, I'm going to let you go first and then give Robbie the last word on Arsenal.
Sorry, I was just watching that clip again of Mr. Passionate Arsenal guaranteeing Champions League next season. We've got to get him on one night. It's so good. If you ever feel sad about anything, just watch that clip. It's so good. Love his passion and conviction. But you're spot on, Scott. We didn't have high expectations to begin with. They slowly started to find a little bit of rhythm and were looking like a resemblance of a football team. But then as the season drew on and people started having some standards and questions about, is this the time where they start to become, recognizable again? When it mattered, they choked. They did. They bottled it totally. You had a couple of very good players, not just Saka. I thought obviously Ramsdale played very well. Odegaard and Emile Smith-Rowe for a while were looking pretty dangerous. But you guys just continue to demonstrate consistent inconsistency. And with that domestic cup form, third round's not good enough for a team that prides itself on just winning FA Cups. Carabao Cup, that was closer than it could have been. But yeah, given the fact that there was no Europe and given how far you placed yourselves in contention for the Champions League, if you guys return to the Champions League, I'll put on the record that's an A season, an A.
100%, mate.
But because they were so close and the way that they buckled, salty is an understatement. I don't know how. Yeah, you said C minus. I would have to agree with that. I couldn't give it above that.
Because I don't think you can call it a D, an E, or an F. Because quite frankly, no one was giving us any chance of being near the top four this season. And then we were mocked for the signings we made. So I can't see how it's an F or an E or a D, but maybe Robbie does think it's a D. So let's give him the floor. Robbie.
No, I don't think it's that low. I think it's a C, flat C for me. A big thing. I actually predicted fifth in our season.
So did I.
Predictions. So I predicted fifth. So me and you again were on the point on that one. And I said from that day one, no, Europe is a big thing for me. Just as I always go back when Conte took over Chelsea that season with no Europe, he won the title. I think that it's a big plus. It's less running, less chance for injuries. Once you're pretty much playing one game a week, except a couple of cup games here and there, which you guys didn't go amazing in. Like I said, FA Cup, you guys are the big champions.
Forest.
Third round, Forest. But to be fair, Forest was on fire.
They got a few.
They had a few big.
It's Forest, Rob. Let's be clear. It's Forest. This is Arsenal's top six.
Hey, they're a Premier League club now.
It's embarrassing compared to, but they did have a couple good games. They had a couple cup sets there. But look, again, I just think that exactly what RJ said, mate. Fourth, you guys had on lock and you bottled it. Literally. And that was a big thing. You literally did. Because I actually, there was a point in time where I actually think, Arsenal are going to hold on to this and they're going to return to the Champions League for the first time in the last 5 years. So to bottle that's massive, and that brings you right back down, considering that you guys did have a lot less games compared to everyone else. But yeah, I don't think it was a terrible season. You guys, from where you finished last year, was what, 8th or 9th as well? 8th last year. So 8th to 5th is a big improvement. You've got, you've secured Europa League, which I think, us and you guys are a Europa League team this year. It's another route to the Champions League if you can win it. It's, it's not the Conference League, which is just a piss take. But yeah, I'm going to go a flat C.
Just on a quick side note before we move on to United, I was just reading before the stream, 14% price increase on an Arsenal season ticket. Wow. We now have the most expensive, lowest category season ticket. So, when you're getting like your gold, platinum, silver. Our bronze is the most expensive bronze level membership in world football.
Wow, that's pretty bad.
Based on clearing the wage bill, renewing Eddie Nketiah to 100K, and not making the Champions League. So great job to the Cronkies. Well done. Let's look at United. Robbie, I'll put the info here. You finished 6th, 16 wins, 10 draws, 12 losses, double digits for all of them. 118 million pound is a typo. That is not the correct amount spent. I will find it in a moment while Rob's talking. You started with Ollie. Michael Carrick had a stint. Ralph Ragnick came in, and now Ralph has gone. Ronaldo had to be your key man, but unfortunately for you, 4th round of the FA Cup, 3rd round of the Carabao Cup, round 16 in the UCL. Robbie, the floor's yours.
Well, probably our worst, or it is our lowest point season in Premier League history. That's enough saying there straight away. For me, it's a failure on all accounts. Getting knocked out of the League Cup first round at Old Trafford against West Ham, failure. Getting knocked out in the FA Cup against Middlesbrough on penalties at Old Trafford, failure again. To say we came second last year, we lost the Europa League final. Okay, we all got really, really excited because we just thought, okay, we're gonna go again. We went out, we got Sancho. We went out, we got Varane, 2 places in the team that we thought were really gonna fix up. And at that point, the expectation was to really close the gap. Unfairly, when we did go out and get Ronaldo in the second week of the season, the expectation went from closing the gap to challenging. And I never thought that was ever going to happen, but that's the expectation. And when you have Manchester United, every season we have an expectation in itself to be challenging, even though it's been a while since we've actually done it. For where our expectations were and what we actually did, again, Ollie got sacked. That says losing a manager was already bad in itself. I've got a couple other stats here that I wrote down. We finished
Rob,
with 0.
While you're getting them,
I got them.
Oh, you got them? I was going to say 85 million, and this is in euros. Yep. 85 million on Sancho, 40 million on Varane, 15 million towards Ronaldo's fee. You spent some money too, didn't you?
We always spend money, mate. That's right.
Let's see your stats.
Finished the season, 0 goal difference. Again, another failure for a team like United. 6 times we lost conceding 4 or more goals this season. That's a shocker for me. And I've got our big 6 results here. We actually had, funny enough, we had 3 wins, 2 draws, and we had 5 losses against the top 6. So I know we're a fall from grace, but when you're Manchester United and we had a window like that and we had the expectations we had, look, mate, a lot of people said the best part of the season was last weekend when it was the last season because it's finished. So and this season is completely failure for me. I'm going to have to go for a D. I think we've hit the rock bottom, and I'm hoping, one door closes and a new door opens. Ten Hag has come in. I'm hoping they're starting to clear out people at the top and bring new people in. It's going to be a long process of a rebuild, but I think the only way up for us is the only place we can go is up from here. So
hope not.
Worst season, and I'm giving it a D, and I don't think anyone can disagree with a D because where our expectation was, we failed on all accounts.
Interesting. It's interesting in there because you've got some E's in there. Davide's an E, Trippy's an F, and Trippy's a United fan. I think Tom's taken the mick with his C+ rating. C from Marty. It's going to be very interesting. Just before we get on to mine and RJ's thoughts on Manchester United, can I ask you to make sure you smash that like button if you are new to the channel, just like my friend Ray here. Welcome, Ray. Good evening. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 600.
Borgie, quickly, I seen thing. He's got D as a password. Look, mate, if you're gonna say F is relegation, honestly, because if United got relegated, which
make it look,
that's a major F.
D is not a pass as a teacher.
There you go.
A D is not a pass, mate. It's a low foul.
Look at it at the end, but to how bad we were. We still came 6th and got Europa League. Now, I know it's for a United fan, it's shocking, but for how bad we were to still get 6th, it's not the end of the world, man. We can rebuild off this. We didn't come 8th for anything or lower like, Spurs or Arsenal did last year. And that's not a banter thing, but I'm saying 6th for our worst season ever is not the worst thing in the world. So I can't give it an E or an F.
RJ? The floor is yours, boss. I'm bumping the order. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, good man. I don't know. I've listened very carefully to what Honest Rob has to say, and I totally agree with the analysis and all of the stats don't lie. It's 12 losses. It's, beyond the hard-coded numbers, and it's a strange one because sixth place is positively misleading. It really is. The way that they play, like you said, how many occasions? 6 or more times they lost by 4+ goals. This is Manchester United. One time losing 4+ goals is just unacceptable. So I don't know. I think F is a bit dramatic just because, like you said, they ultimately did qualify for Europe despite it being the second-tier competition, which is not their target. They spent money. They brought the, GOAT of all time, apparently. It's not even just that. They spent on Sancho and other great players, and the institution itself, it should mean something. But it's even the football that they played. At times, it was tragic to watch. It was barely recognisable. And on one hand, I think D, yes, because of Europe, but I don't know, as an outsider, I'd be inclined to even go one notch lower. As like you said, Scott, D's a low fail. I think, be given United who they are, 12 losses, 10 draws, scraped into sixth spot, ugly football for a large majority of the time. The managers didn't help their cause. I think they've got to be a bit more honest. I'd actually be a low key E here to be real with you, boys.
Yeah, look, Robbie, you're not going to like me, mate, because
go for it, mate. We can't hear any lower.
I'm with RJ on that. I'm an E, because I think, again, United I tipped to be in the title race. And I think you guys talk a lot about Liverpool fans, but God bless the United fans. You honestly, when we buckled fourth, you were the ones that made more noise than the Spurs fans, albeit Spurs don't have many fans. But God, you guys were loud and
Look
noisy.
at this, the double shot he's just done.
I looked at the comments and I thought, how have these blokes fallen so far in football? Like, I know that we have been in the mud for a couple of years. You guys jumped straight into the mud with us and started trying to dig down lower, celebrating us buckling when you finished below us. I think RJ's right, though. The football at times was absolutely dreadful. It was farcical off the pitch. We had Ralph come in, then he was going to be the director of football. Now he's
gone now, isn't he?
Be there at all. I just think it's been a bit of almost a shit show at United this season. It's been an absolute mess. And any team that has my GOAT, Ronaldo, I expect more. Sancho, for me, I'm going to upgrade him from flop signing to disappointing signing because he had good moments, but I don't think he did enough to justify his money. Look, it was a poor season for United, but Rob, I think one cause of optimism is that the only way is up. You do have a better manager in now, and I think that you'll start making the right moves. But for me, I'm going to give you an E+ on that season. It has to be an E.
I can't disagree with it, man.
I'd give your fans an F- though. Besides Tom, the rest of you, F-. What were you saying, Robbie? Sorry.
No, I can't disagree, mate. Like I said, this is our lowest point, mate. Like I said, and all the stats back up. Lowest points, no goals, everything. I told you, all the cup competitions nearly knocked out in the first round. So I told you, this is, for United standards, this is a failure of a season, mate. Considering that we're supposed to be every year, no matter how bad we are next year, how bad we are this year, I guarantee you the start of next season, people are going to be like, we'll make a couple signings, even though it's a long rebuild, and people are going to say, United should be challenging for top 4, United should be challenging for top honours next year. No matter how bad we've been, that's just the media, that's just how the people perceive, how they look at United. We should be doing that. So, I don't know. Again,
it's context, isn't it, Rob?
It's
context, all about the team, because like we said, United is so big, and it's not about nostalgia. It's nothing about that. It's the fact that you've brought this footballing specimen Ronaldo back. It's the money you spent on other prodigies and Sancho and the like, and the fact that there was a lot of positivity and hype around, like you all agree, it's around trying to genuinely give a tilt for the title. Maybe not favourites because you're not that good, but the fact that they not only were nowhere near to winning the title, they played terrible football, sacked a club legend, brought another guy who equally flopped, if not did worse, in my opinion. And the fact is that they didn't look like the team that we've become accustomed to. It was just, a total failure, disaster class season. But at least they qualified for Europe, which is one saving grace.
Yeah.
Right, boys. This next one is this one's going to be a quick one. These guys were just added in for a bit of good measure because we know we've got a lot of Newcastle fans who subscribe to this channel. And we have talked about this team a lot. The world's richest football club, Newcastle United, final position, 11th with 13 wins, 10 draws and 15 losses. Money spent £131.5 million, most of that late. Stevie Bruce started the season and was replaced by Eddie Howe, who did a tremendous job. Key man, I couldn't go between St. Maximin or Bruno. I thought both of them were just excellent. 5th round of the FA Cup, semi-final of the Carabao Cup. I don't know if it was semi-final. That might be another typo.
They weren't in the Conference League.
And so what I've don't mind me. I used the other template, but I just haven't changed it. So just ignore that. But let's quickly chat Newcastle. Ignore my typos. Amateur hour. This is why we're not a Champions League club, because we've got amateurs like me at the helm. But boys, let's talk Newcastle. We aren't doing the full table tonight. I know there was a comment in the chat from Davide. We're not doing the full one. This is the last club that we're going to do a report card for tonight. And we'll get in touch via our social media about what the schedule is going to look like during the off season, because we might shift the schedule because obviously we don't have as much football to chat about. So keep an eye on that. But this is the last club. I'm going to keep this one quick. I think for Newcastle, with where they were most of the season, I'm going to give them a B+, because to escape relegation from that position, to make some excellent signings, some really excellent signings, and then turn their form around. They were in like the top 4 or 5 teams in terms of form in the second half of the season. So B+ for Newcastle and Eddie Howe, and I'm worried about them next season. Robbie, you thought they were going down, mate, for a lot of the season. I've had a few bad footballing takes. This was one of yours. You haven't had too many. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at a C+ for me, if I'm being honest. Again, we have to look at the overall season, and you can nearly split it straight down the line, half and half. The first half of the season is nearly an F, if we're going to be honest with ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
I think they barely didn't even get a win till over halfway through the season. Their goal differential was shocking. The team was just, everything was looking bad. Obviously, good fortune for them. The club finally got bought out from the Saudis. That's where the positivity started. Eddie Howe came in. And again, that's where they're going to start to get to 11 from where they were in the season. Again, spent 130 million, but it was enough to get them out of trouble and more. They, like I said, mid-table finish from where they were, I think, is an accomplishment in itself. Again, I can't really go into the B's, man, because it's really starting to get, like I said, they were pretty an F, so it kind of balances out. I'm going to go for a C-. Again, if they have a really good window and they pump some more money with the right signings, I'm not worried about them for your top stuff, but I really do think they can move up into like a Conference League spot next year.
RJ, just quickly, what do you reckon?
Heard you both. Make some good arguments. I was looking at last season, comparing it to this season. They've got 4 extra points, -2 goal difference worse, 1 place better finish, substantial investment this window to completely rescue them from a total guaranteed relegation spot. Let's be real. They were heading there, no doubt about it. Eddie Howe's come in, done a great job, albeit with the asterisks of major investment to help them get back to where they want to be. But as a whole of season review or report card, I would be inclined to lock in a flat C, to be honest.
Fair shout. Some really good points, boys. We hope you enjoyed those report cards that we managed to do tonight. Please, if you're watching this back live, leave a comment. Give us some of your report grades, particularly if we didn't get to your team tonight. Let us know what you grade your own team. I'd love to hear some of those, and I know the boys would too. We are going to talk about some transfers now. because there's been lots of transfer talk. Of course, we spoke a little bit about Nottingham Forest. Just quickly on a side note, a massive congratulations to them. They are coming up to the Premier League next season. I think well deserved too. They showed in the FA Cup they can be an exciting team. They've got a rich history, so kudos to Forest. Nice to see them.
First time next season, Borgie, there'll be 5 teams that have won the European Cup in the Premier League for the first time ever.
There you go. There you go. How exciting!
Good join the club, hey? It's good.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's a nice feeling. Let's move on. Transfers on Arsenal. Gabriel Jesus is a man who's strongly linked. Apparently, rumours that Spurs are keen too. I'd be happy with Jesus coming in. I think he offers a lot in attack. I think he's been a little bit of a victim of how good City have been. He doesn't often let them down when he gets minutes and a little bit of a run of games. And I think at Arsenal, where he would be one of the key men, we could really see the best from him. So an exciting signing. Obviously, if his contract running down, we can get him a little bit cheaper. But it's going to be interesting to see if Spurs fight us for him, because my hope is that connection with Mikel Arteta would be enough to bring him over. There were the Zinchenko rumours as well. We're shopping for Man City's seconds, and I don't have an issue with that. Would love to see Zinchenko come in. Would absolutely be stoked with that. We need competition, particularly at left back, where Tierney is so often injured. But there's been some rumours, RJ, about both of your clubs, Inter and Chelsea, and one man in the middle, Romelu Lukaku. Just quickly give us your thoughts on this, mate.
Yeah, that's very spot on there. He is in the limelight, but I think this is just a very easy story to run, because obviously that interview that happened, we all know his affinity to the Nerazzurri. So I kind of think it's transfer window time. It's just a very easy story to run. But from what I have heard, because of the very expensive salary that he would command and the big compensation fee and Inter's situation price-wise, I don't think it's a really credible story, to be honest. I think that it might be credible from a loan perspective, not an outright purchase. Yep. But from what I've heard, I do think that he will be staying. Obviously, it's an evolving story, but my money at the moment is that he stays and tries to force his way back in the good books of Tuchel.
There you go. He did show some promise late in the season.
Yeah, he did. He was a bit better.
Lewandowski has confirmed to the footballing world that he's not staying at Bayern Munich. He's going to be one of the hottest, most sought-after players, surely. There are so many clubs that need a striker, and he is one of the best in the world. I still stand he's better than Harry Kane. So, Lewandowski. Robbie, what would you give to have this guy leading the line at United?
To be honest, and you guys know me, one of my favourite players, Lewandowski. Mate, to be honest, I actually think he will leave Bayern, but I think from what all accounts say, Barca is the one-way ticket. They want to go all in for him, and he seems to be keen to be going there. Look, anything can happen with money, and
Barca's in big financial trouble. I know. You've heard about the stories.
That's why I think it's going to be a bit of a transfer merry-go-round. That's why we might have that little bit of the chance with the Frankie de Jong. You know, the money they might, if we were to buy off him, they might put on to Lewandowski. You know, so it's going to be interesting to see, because I still don't know what's going to happen. But look, that's the biggest links for Lewandowski. I would love him at United, but I think it's a stupid decision. Number one, Ronaldo is there.
It's such a Glazer purchase. I was going to say, you buy this top player that you don't need.
That's it. We don't. And like the whole thing is, I said it a couple of weeks ago. We can't. It's stupid if we're going to go out and get someone. And he still has a lot to offer. But again, he's 33.
I couldn't care if he's 43. You'd take him.
Nah.
Look at Zlatan and Giroud at AC Milan.
I know, but okay, Zlatan is a specimen himself. Giroud is just
Lewandowski's better than Zlatan.
Ooh, well, there's a big difference. He's 41 and he's 33. So I wouldn't say that just yet. And if you're looking at stuff, he's one. Anyway, that's a debate for another day. Look, I love Lewandowski, but I can't see him going anywhere else but Barca now. For his to come out and say my my buying career is done. He wants to go somewhere else. I can see him going to La Liga.
Okay. There you go. And some interesting quotes I'll just put in the chat from De Jong, pretty much saying wants to stay at Barca.
Yeah.
Couple of other guys to talk about. Sadio Mane, pretty much done that he's leaving
gone.
Liverpool. Bayern Munich are the suggested suitors. What do you think of this one, RJ?
Yeah, spot on. I was saying this to a Liverpool mate of mine after the Champions League. Him and Salah be interesting now. Curtain calls for some of these stars. It looks like Mane definitely. Bayern Munich was my first choice because of the permutation with Lewandowski. So I think I know they're not like for like replacement, but it's still in a forward position. And Mane's still a top quality player. So why wouldn't someone like Bayern Munich? They're one of the few clubs in the world that has that star power to pull a player like Mane. And it's a different league. I think Sadio does want a different experience rather than stay in the Premier League. I also think that PSG are a genuine chance to get him, but I think at this stage, Bayern Munich's probably the shoe-in. What do you think, Rob? Do you think if Mane goes, which is what they expect, how do you think Liverpool will respond to that?
I don't think they respond, to be honest. I think they responded in January with Diaz, and I think that could be part of the reason why he's going. He hasn't been getting, starts every single game compared to like your Salah. He's there every game, and it's been a kind of a rotation between your Firmino, your Diego Jota, your Diaz, and your Mane. So there's nearly 4 players fighting for those 3 positions. So, look, for me, I think that Mane, he's come out and said he's going to go, and I do think again with the cycle, I think I could see him at a Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich don't like to spend big money, and his contract's pretty much up. And for someone like him, I can, especially because when they got Leroy Sané, mate, he was the one they spent the big money on, and he's been very, very injury prone, hasn't turned up. So for his position, I think they're lowering the age group in the Lewandowski, and again the goal scorer as well. That someone that can go and win titles there and fight hard into deep into Europe. So I think that'll be a big possibility.
It'd be a great buy-in, wouldn't you think, Scott?
I love it.
Very. Boys, I'm conscious that we've gone an hour and 7 minutes. I just want to quickly fire off a couple of others. Perisic, heavily linked to Spurs, is expected to sign. I think we're all in agreement that that's an excellent.
Plus his medical today, so it's just got to be released from the club.
Marcelo now from Real Madrid. That was his last game for them. Curious to see what the future holds for him. Will he retire? Will another club pick up his years of experience and a winning mentality? I would love him. I would take him at Arsenal. We need someone to compete with Kieran Tierney, or at least to fill in. And Dybala. Dybala has been talked about for a while. Rumours linking him to Inter. Don't know if you boys wanted to add anything to those, or if you're ready to jump.
Yeah, you know who I've heard as well that's bubbling on the surface. Watch this space for Hakimi. Apparently very unsettled over at PSG. Tell you what, a lot of clubs would be chasing his signature. 100%. So I'd love him to come to Chelsea. I know we were looking at him, especially with the Ben Chilwell situation. If we're going to get the same Chilwell, who knows? But if the rumours are believed to be true and he wants to leave PSG, geez, he would command a lot of clubs chasing him. So that's a big one. And sure, many, of course, very close to going to Real Madrid, which sucks for everybody else because he's such a great young midfielder. So again, very, very interesting to watch his space.
Boys, let's do some quick fires. Before we do the quick fires, if you haven't jumped in yet, we did some report cards for a bunch of Premier League teams. So make sure you watch this back. Slap a like on the video. Keep an eye on our socials as well, because now with where we are in the season, the show schedule might change a little bit. So keep an eye on that so you know when there's a show. Quick fires, boys. This is my one. I'll keep it short, sharp, sweet. What's something that you hate that a lot of other people seem to really like?
Oh, I'm going to go pineapple on pizza.
Good shout. Okay, RJ.
So it's food related, is it?
No, it doesn't have to be
anything.
food.
I was going to say bad football takes to be popular, but I think I will go the old chestnut of onions. Everybody knows my thoughts on onions, especially uncooked onions.
Yeah, you're not the full quid, mate. Look, for me, and I had the answer sitting in my head, I would probably say seafood. I hate all types of
And we're not
seafood.
the full quid.
Yeah,
Gosh.
no, God. But onions are in everything. But let's not get into an onion debate. We've got one here from Tom. This can be my second. Is it a football thing? Yes or no? Nicknames or abbreviated names on shirts instead of full names. Vinny Jr. instead of Vinicius was annoying him. Unfortunately, it's a modern football thing, but I don't think it's a good football thing. So, yes to modern football, but I hate it personally.
Yeah, it's a no for me. I used to even hate it. I know I love the player, but Aguero, when he went from Aguero to Aguero, that really done my head in. It was just something his grandma used to call him when he was a kid. I'm like, are you kidding me, man? Or even someone like Neymar Jr. Like, is he always going to be Neymar Jr.? Like, just wake up and put Neymar on there, mate. You're like 30 years old nearly now. So, yeah, it's not a football thing for me.
RJ?
OMG, YOLO, who cares? It's just, ultimately it's just their name, doesn't matter. I know it's not their name, that's your argument because it's just for branding reasons, but
Even
who cares at the end of the
like
day?
Isco, he's like that's because his name is Francisco. Like I don't know, I reckon it's lazy. Yeah, Chicharito's
Yeah,
another
it's all
one.
for marketing. It's just marketing.
Yeah.
That's all it's about.
All right. What about you, RJ? You always have your quick fires. Let's do this.
Yeah, I was going to just very quickly, if you were building a football club or football squad, which position would you choose to build your squad around as the core?
Yeah, I think
Scott's in the mid?
midfield's the heart of the pitch, mate. For me, you got to go midfield as well.
Yeah, I would say that, but to be a little bit different, I'll say also centre back because you need to be a leader in that position.
You need a good spine, mate. All the spine needs to be solid. All right, boys. I got for my quick fires tonight. It's player battles. So I've got 5 of them. I'm going to give you the battles, and I think they're pretty interesting. We might get some. So we've got R9, so Brazilian Ronaldo versus Lewandowski.
Brazilian Ronaldo.
I mean, you both said the same time. I didn't hear you. So you said Brazilian Ronaldo. What did you say, RJ?
The real Ronaldo.
Yeah, I'll go. I think he just edges it. This one's a big one, I reckon. Ronaldinho versus Ronaldo, CR7 Ronaldo.
CR7 for me.
I know what RJ's going to say, but we'll see. Here we go.
Ronaldinho.
Yeah, look, I'm going to go Ronaldo, but just because I'm not a big Brazilian fan, but Ronaldinho was one of my favorite Brazilians. I have to say class, but I do think Ronaldo. This one's a big one. Zidane versus Pirlo.
Zidane.
Pirlo.
Here we go.
I got to go. I love them both, but I'm going to have to go Zidane. I
don't like headbutters.
I know, but if you look at it all around, they both played for my team, but I think he just edges it just. Neuer versus Casillas.
Neuer.
Yeah, Neuer. And this one here, big talking point, triple threat. Rio versus Terry versus Virgil van Dijk.
That's not topical.
It's hard because I hate 2 of them, but the 2 I hate are probably the better ones. You go first, RJ. Give me a minute.
Oh, hold on.
So what is it a top to bottom preference or?
No, it's just triple threat. Pick one out of the 3.
Terry, VVD, then thing for me.
Wow. Scott.
Rob, who's yours?
Oh, I'm gonna go obviously for me, mate. Rio, Terry, then BVD.
I'm gonna go Rio. Just. Well, Quickfire's done, boys. That's it. 1 hour and 13 minutes. We hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you're watching this back, please leave a comment on the video. It really helps with the algorithm, and leave a like. Let us know your report grades. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to talk about a team that maybe we missed out? We'd love to hear it. Until then, we will be taking leave for the evening, and we'll catch you soon. Check our socials. Good evening, everyone. Take care.
Ciao.